Apabio have asked senators to put national interest first at all times. Good morning. Welcome to the Dailies on Equity Television International, where we keep you updated with what is happening from our Nigerian newspaper. I am Sada Elisha Dasherman. Of course, Richard is here with me. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to our viewers. So you can keep your, your comments and your thoughts open by dropping it on our Facebook and YouTube, handles, and then we'll read it live here. And then, as you know, the way we do it here, later on the show, we will open the phone line so you can also call in and air your views on stories that are of interest to you this morning. And let us move straight to the paper, starting with the Daily Independent newspaper.
On Daily Independent, a merciless suspension, NGX jumps to 15-year high, gains 1.215 trillion naira. Obi tenders more 188 exhibits at Presidential Election Tribunal. And the big story, Apabio asks senators to put national interest first at all times. The writer following the story outlines focus areas, calls for unity of vision with Tinubu. Abbas promises to lead a house that all will be proud of, vows he won't be a rubber-stamp House of Reps speaker. INEC failures, violence, voter fraud, suppression, May 2023 polls coming from international observers. You can find the details on page 7. INEC chair to testify for Atiku in petition against Tinubu tomorrow. Akeredolu transmits power to deputy heads abroad for treatment. The details can be found on page 29. Court orders arrest of police IG for secretary. You can find the details on page 6. It's time to move swiftly with business of governance coming from Tinubu. Congratulates Apabio, Abbas, Barrow, Kalu for emerging National Assembly leaders. At the downside of the paper, 100 persons die in Kwara boat accident. The details can be found on page 6. We have picture story showing in the swearing in of the Senate President and the Speaker House of Assembly, and that's all the news on Daily Independent.
On this day newspaper, Ondo Governor Akeredolu Rights Assembly hands over to deputy, flies out for treatment. With the rider, state legislature confirms governor's letter for medical leave. You can start the story on the front page and continue on page 9. Still ahead, we have federal government generated 1.18 trillion naira from VAT, company income tax in the first quarter, which you can find on page 6. Kwara boat misship claims 100 lives. You can find a story on page 51, and we send our condolences to those who lost their loved ones in that. Over 120 people killed since Tinubu's inauguration, says Amnesty International. You can read more of that story on the front page and continue inside the paper. The big story coming from Tinubu, Apabio, Abbas imagines good development for Nigeria, with the writer saying, "It's time to get on with serving the people." Declares readiness to transparent work with legislature. Vows to remain a partner for peace, stability of country. Senate President, Speaker pledge effective cooperation. Coming from Adamu, APC will waste no time filing other principal offices. And we have Horua doubts the 10th National Assembly will be independent. SGF governors and others congratulate the new National Assembly leadership. You can find that story on the front page and also on page 9. Of course, we have the picture story here where we can see the president of the 10th Senate while he was swearing in the president. Here we have the newly sworn in president of the Senate. Senator Godswin Apabio raised the gavel to symbolize the authenticity of office after the 10th National Assembly inauguration in Abuja yesterday. And that's all in this day newspaper.
On Nigerian Tribune, Atiku subpoenas INEC chairman as Obi tenders 188 additional exhibits against Tinubu's election. Boat accident claims 103 lives in Kwara. Factors behind Apabio Abbas' victory as Senate President and Speaker. I will be transparent with National Assembly leadership, a statement coming from the President Tinubu. How lack of consensus on Deputy Speaker's law destabilized G6 aspirants. We will stand against any executive move not in public interest. A statement coming from Abbas. You can find the details on page 17, 18, and 19. Akeredolu goes on medical leave, hands over to deputy. Student loan law, Tinubu pledges more resources to education as NANS visits. Census will expire if not done this year, coming from NPC. Guinness World Record confirms Hilda Bachi's record for longest cooking marathon. The details can be found on page 2. Why Tinubu must fundamentally cleanse the system, a statement coming from Abakoba. You can find the details on page 5. NNPCL denies giving Dangote refinery license for fuel import. You can find the details on page 7, and we have picture story showing in the swearing in of the House of Assembly Speaker and the Senate President, and that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
On the leadership newspaper on 2023, Polls Tribunal admits additional 188 exhibits from Obi. You can read detail of the story in the paper. Sokoto Caliphate publishes 3.2 million books by Islamic scholars. You can find that story as well inside the paper on page 6. Still on leadership newspaper, we have marketers move to end NNPCL petrol import monopoly. You can start reading that story on the front page and continue reading that story on page 10. 103 die in Kwara boat misshaped state government and others mourn. The big story. As Akpabio Abbas take charge, the 10th National Assembly vows to tackle economic and security challenges, with Ryder says it will be Commonwealth above the party. We arrive Senate chamber 4 a.m. to prevent 2015 scenario. Also, Tinubu seek collaboration with lawmakers. You can read all of the story on page 7. Akeredolu begins medical leave, transmit power to deputy. Also on the student loan, NAS wants lecturers and others removed from committee. And also we have Hilda Bachi, now Guinness World Record holder in cooking marathon. And then we have the picture story showing Akpabio and also Abbas. And that's all on the leadership newspaper.
Before we move to the next paper, I'm seeing this student loan, and it has been on a bill since the beginning of the week and all of that. And I would like to say it's not completely a bad idea. However, I would like to know your take. But then when we talk about student loan, I believe this is a good initiative, looking at the fact that perhaps the countries like the United States, Canada, UK, all the places that our Nigerian students are trolling to go and school there, have students loan and all of that. And one of the major debt acquired in the US, for example, is students loan. But Sele, they have a system where when you go to school and you finish, there is employment. So for sure, you have a means of paying this student loan or debt that you've acquired over the years, because they have a good income system regardless of where you end up getting employed. It's not like what we have here, that only people who work in government parastatals, federal government institutions, commissions, and all of that, or people who happen to land a good job in big businesses that earn well and we can say can settle this loan. They have a better system for income, job, and employment, and all of that, that makes sure when you acquire this student loan debt and you graduate, you have a job that you can start paying your loan. But however, I don't think that is the problem in Nigeria. And my take on this, in as much as it is a good thing, I think the federal government, as it is, this current administration, should work on income that is paid. When we talk about minimum wages, and when we say so, it shouldn't, we talked about it last week, how it's not even applicable everywhere. We have people working in private sectors that are working as hard as every other person and are not even earning up to 30,000 naira for an income. And secondly, the minimum wage is not even at every state. So it doesn't matter if I acquire a loan from the federal government, if by the time I graduate and my job is 15,000 naira, then it becomes difficult. And secondly, what about the issue of unemployment? Because if I'm able to get this loan and I finish and I'm not employed, I keep having debt accumulating to whenever I do get a job. So I would like to know, what is your take on the student loan
Well,
bill?
Rachel, my take is not far from what you were saying. Of course, it's a good initiative coming from the president, because these are part of the things he said during his campaign when he was promising a student loan for students, especially for indigents of the country, those who cannot afford to make it, especially to the tertiary institution, because we know that most people, we have states where we have free education, even to the secondary school level, but then no free education for the tertiary institution. And we know this is something that when you go to other developed countries, education is free and it's mandatory. But then, just like you said, now the problem here, yes, the loan is interest free. But then what happens when I'm done with my tertiary institution and then I do not have a job to be able to pay? What will happen? In as much as this is commendable coming from the president, but I think he can go further, Rachel. And I don't know, I think I've been the #1 principal officer here talking about the fact that we need to ban students going outside to study, especially starting from our public office holders. Let us ban those going outside to school, because, Rachel, we are enriching other economy. Yeah. Just take a look at other countries, Just take a look at how much we spend talking about education, tourism, talking about even health tourism. Now imagine this money that we used to go study abroad. Why don't we use this money, inject it back into the economy? Nigerians are concerned, where is the country going to get the money to give this loan? Because we still have about 70 trillion naira loan that we have gotten from other countries, because we needed to service one or two things. Our budget in the country, we're running on deficit because we don't even have enough money to run certain things. Of course, I know this is an initiative looking at education, but then what happens when you give this loan to students? We're still talking about dilapidated building. We're still talking about our lecturers and our teachers not being paid well to be able to give well. So imagine after paying this loan and then you don't have what it entails. For example, in a federal university, that you only tell the day you got admission, but you never can tell the day you are graduating. Why? Because we have one strike coming after another. Maybe somebody going to private university can be happy about this loan, but then you're having the course of just 4 years and they end up spending 8 years. As a medical student, you're supposed to spend 6 years, you're spending almost 10 years in the university. So at the end of the day, is the risks higher than the gain? So these are some of the things I hope that will open wider. Of course, it's a good interest, because there are a lot of students that want to study but do not have the means. This loan will help them. But then what is the government actually going to do, talking about unemployment? I know the president has been trying his best ever since he got into office. We can see he has been working tirelessly. From the very first day, he removed the first subsidy. So a lot of things just so that we can have our economy back on track. But I think that, there are certain measures when you take the citizens may not really feel its impact immediately. So just like this, though, we're talking about our employment rate, we're talking about almost 40% unemployment. And then we're still having more graduates joining this unemployment. You get, Rachel. So I just hope that, yes, the president has a good heart, wanting students to study. But I hope that, let's look at where we have even our public officers not sending their words abroad. Let us see this money being used to take care of our health system, take care of our educational system. If we do that, Rachel, I'm telling you, Nigerians will be happy to receive this loan. So we just hope that, yes, this loan has come to stay, because the bill has already been signed. There's no going back. But I hope that we also see a bill that will help Nigerian students, everybody, to stay back in the country. Because we need to fix this country together. We will not have some few individuals sending their words abroad. We're still having more and more Nigerians are coming back from Libya, Rachel. As we are talking, we're still spending money, bringing more. Just recently, we had students coming back from Sudan, and then we're looking at some of the procedure that they will be sending to the university. So a lot needs to be done so that we'll avoid all of these issues where we have our students going abroad, and then if there's one war or another, they are back. So I hope that with this loan, the president can also look into other means to help Nigerians. When you get this loan, how do you intend to pay it? So I hope that all of that will be taken into cognizance.
The bottom line is the government prioritizing what really is the problem that is facing the Nigerian education system, and then tackling it one after the other, and then making sure that we are getting it right.
Of course, of course.
On the Nation newspaper, financial marketers rebound and Emefiele suspension. Naira firm up, equities make 1.215 trillion naira gain. Jonathan visits Tinubu, 103 die, 70 missing in Kwara boat accident. Akeredolu on medical leave. You can find the details on page 27. Coming from the president, poverty should not stop any child from getting tertiary education. The details can be found on page 2. Akpabio Abbas step in as Senate President Speaker. Ex-Akwa Ibom Governor defeat Yari by 63 to 46 votes. Kaduna Reps triumph by 353-33 over Wase and Jaji. And we have a statement coming from them. Let's put national interest first at all times. Our laws must protect our people, while our actions must guarantee the most efficient use of our national commonwealth. We will work in harmony with the executive arm, upholding checks and balances anchored on the principles of transparency, accountability, and respect for the rule of law. Let's work for our people, Tinubu urges National Assembly leaders. How lawmakers divide parties. At the downside of the paper, NSIS Innovation Program second phase begins. The details can be found on page 7, and that's all the news on the Nation newspaper.
Another Punch newspaper, governors mourn as 103 die in Kwara boat tragedy, with the rider rescuers recover over 50 corpses, 50 passengers and children missing. Detail can be found on page 4 and 5. Classified document, Trump 8 arrested, face 37 counts. You can find that story on page 56. Still on the Punch newspaper, the big story on the 10th National Assembly. Tinubu's candidates flood APC rebels. Akpabio lead the Senate. With the rider Abbas bid Wase, Jaji emerges House Speaker. Yari embraces Akpabio after defeat. National Assembly won't be independent, presidency handpick leaders coming from NNPP and the Labour Party. Well, we hope to see that the legislature will actually work independent without any interference coming from any other body. Still on the Punch newspaper, over 35,000 trafficked Nigerian women and girls trapped in Mali. This is coming from NAPTEP. You can find more detail of that story. And I think for a while we've not heard the story of women trafficking and girls trafficking. It's happening. It's not that it's not happening. But then for a while we've not seen it reflecting on our papers. And I'm happy that NAPTEP are beginning to revisit this, because back was then that when you hear particular states being mentioned, the first thing that comes to your mind is they're being trafficked. And I remember just last year or 2 years back, I heard about a case even here in Plateau State of girls that were being trafficked for prostitution, and sometimes they're not being given the full package. Maybe you'll be promised a job opportunity to a particular auntie, and then when on getting there, that is when the whole idea of the reason why you're there will be explained to you. And I hope that we still see more measures coming from not just leaving this to our NGOs, but let us see government bodies coming to back it up. I remember back then when we were much younger, there were movies or soap operas that were being showcased on TV. So girls especially, because mostly girls are the victim, or women are the victims of this, so are being shown, and then you begin to see what is involved with all of this. So I hope that we see more bodies rallying around these non-governmental bodies, so that we can see that we really need to fight this. Now we are seeing that a lot of them are being trapped in Mali, and these are part of the countries that we're still having, either Mali, Italy, like Libya. These are some of these countries that come to mind when you hear human trafficking, especially for the women and girls. So I hope to see more bodies, and I'm happy that about 25,000, they say, over are being trapped there. So I hope that we'll begin to see measures how we can bring them back into the country. And then you begin to see that we start talking about trauma, some of the traumatic experience they had. So I hope to see the government doing more to be able to help these girls attain more, and then let us not see people taking advantage of them at the end of the day.
Because when you hear a specific problem becoming silent, it means whoever was put in the position to make it loud was not loud enough, because I remember there was once a time we would keep hearing updates, hearing advances that have made towards making sure that this is no longer an issue. The girls that have been rescued, people that have been helped. But just as you said, for a while now, this has been silent, and I don't want to believe that maybe it didn't just make it to the papers, but whoever had been in the position to make it loud have been working on the ground. Now that we know the data, the numbers of people that are all over the country, whatever part of the world, for trafficking, 25,000 is a big number. Now, what we want to hear next, I don't want to see the papers keep taking the numbers, but when NAPTIP now have mentioned these numbers, then what are the steps you're taking to make sure that these numbers are reducing? Because Selem, when you hear and see some of the things that these people go through, it can give you sleepless nights. It will not, it is horrible. It is no condition for a human being to exist in. So I just hope that it's not all about giving us the numbers. I'm looking forward to a solution-driven country, that when we know a problem, we start outlining the solutions to solve that problem. And when we outline it, we don't sleep on it, but we start working on it and making progress, that the next time we're seeing the numbers, we will see that it's now 24,000. The next time we see it's 23,000, that something is actually being done.
You know, it's just sad that this is just one country. We're talking about Mali, so we don't even have the statistics. Those who are in other countries. Yes, so imagine. So I just hope something will be done, just like you said. Still on the Punch newspaper, we have fans crush website as the Guinness World Record confirms Hilda Bachi cooking's record. You can find detail of that story as well on page 54. And we have steps in as Akira Dodu goes on medical leave on page 7. Picture story here is showing Apabio and other members and other governors at the 10th House of Assembly taking a photograph, and that's all on the Punch newspaper.
On Nigerian News Direct, ill health crisis on Ondo Governor Akeredolu transmits power to Deputy Governor Ayeda Tiwa. You can find the details on page 4. Federal government improves license for first hybrid crude export terminal. Nigeria generates 709 billion naira VAT in the first quarter of 2023, a report coming from NBS. APC zoning arrangement holds, produces Apabio, Abbas, and others as new leaders promise unalloyed support for Tinubu's administration. We shall surpass expectations of Nigerian people. Await our legislative agenda. Says 10th House will work to combat insurgency, terrorism, or forms of criminalities. You can find the details of these promises on page 2. New National Assembly leadership, final fulfillment of installation of transformational leadership. Tinubu pledges to improve investment in education. NDDC to recommend free medical program for Niger Delta region. Sanwo-Olu charges 10th Assembly to surpass previous record. And that's all in news on Nigerian News Direct.
New Telegraph newspaper, how Apabio, Abbas, and Matt Senate president and the speaker. And then we also have, coming from the World Bank, remittance to Nigeria hit $20.1 billion in 2022. Coming from the Tribuna, Atiku suspend INEC boss Yakubu to testify against Tinubu tomorrow. You can find out on page 3 and 6. Coming from OPEC, Nigeria regains top spot as Africa's crude oil producer. Well, I hope that we don't relax thinking that we have attained it, but then we'll begin to see measures to maintain that top spot. Still on New Telegraph, we have Akeredolu transfer power to deputy, proceed on a 21-day sick leave. You can find that on page 6 as well. We have the story showing Hilda, as she has been confirmed as the longest cooking marathon with 93 hours, even though Nigerians are saying it was supposed to be 100, but then the Guinness record took away 7 hours. But then we're still happy that Hilda has done Nigeria well by attaining that position. We have also a hearty congratulations. You can do well to read that. Congratulations, and that's all in the New Telegraph newspaper.
On the Matrix newspaper, Jonathan briefs Tinubu on developments in Mali. Former U.S. President Trump arrested. And on subsidy removal, Senate will give Tinubu necessary legislative backing. Mbappe fails to extend PSG contract after Messi's exit. For our sports lover, you can find the details on page 18. President Tinubu pledges to improve investment in education sector. NANS meet president kicks against inclusion of lecturers, lawyers from student loan committee. The big story, I'll be a partner in progress with National Assembly. Tinubu hails Akpabio and Abbas. Akpabio defeat Yari, elected Senate President. Abbas defeat Wase and Jaji to become Rep Speaker. Akpabio emergence has provided semblance of balance coming from Pandev. I won't be rubber stamp Speaker, Abbas vows. Ondo Assembly confirms Aida Tiwa as acting governor, says Akeredolu on medical leave. Nigerian government generates 709 billion naira VAT in the first quarter of 2023, a report coming from the NBS. Emefiele suspension excites investors as stock gain 1.2 trillion naira. At the downside of the paper, at last, GWR certificates Hilda Bachi as world record holder for longest cooking marathon. And we have a picture in partnership to work for the renewed hope. President Bola Tinubu, newly elected Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, newly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. You can find the details inside the paper, and that's all the news on the Matrix newspaper.
All right, before we move further with other paper review, we'd love to take a break at this moment so we can open the phone lines and love to hear what your takes are concerning the stories on the paper this morning. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.
Make your everyday informative, make your everyday count. Know your world, daily affairs, national and international, with authentic news events as they unfold on Global News and Zoom on Nigeria, Monday to Friday at 1 p.m.
Thanks for staying tuned. It's still the Dailies on your winning station, and we've been keeping you informed. We've been giving you information on stories that have been on the paper. We've seen finally Akpabio and also Abbas as the Senate President, also the Speaker, and then a lot of stories on the paper where we have about 25,000 women being trapped in Mali as a result of human trafficking. These and many other stories are what we have been looking at on the papers this morning. So we'd love to have your take and hear what you feel about the stories by calling us on our number that is displayed on your screen at this moment. Please do remember to turn down the volume of your TV set when you call us, or you turn you off the TV completely so we can hear you clearly. As other viewers will also love to hear from you. I still have Rachel Tanze with me in the studio. Thanks so much, Rachel. All right, let's take a look at other papers, and I'll be looking at the first newspaper. Contempt court orders IGP First Secretary arrest. You can find detail of that story inside the first newspaper. Alien at AD Akeredolu transmit power to deputy heads abroad for treatment. You can find detail of the story inside the paper. IPOB demand Nnamdi Kanu's release referendum. You can find that story also inside the paper. And on the petition, Obi tenders additional 188 exhibit against Tinubu. On the 10th Assembly, we have Afebol Media Team congratulates Senate President Akpabio. You can find detail of the story inside the paper. And on the 10th National Assembly leadership, Tinubu opens up on Akpabio Abbas emergence once disagreement between executive legislature may occur. Assure National Assembly of transparent working relationship to change Nigerians' fortune. We will confront executive if the reps coming from the rep speaker. We will give the federal government necessary backing on subsidy removal coming from the Senate President. You can find detail of the story inside the paper. Over 100 wedding guests die in Kwara boat mischief. Father, 4 children among the victims. You can find detail of that story inside the paper. And we have stock market jumps to 15-year high after Emefiele suspension. You can find all of that inside the paper. And we have director arranged for threatening JAM registrar's wife. You can find all of that story as well inside the paper. And that's all on the First News newspaper.
On the Guardian newspaper, Tinubu's men led 10th National Assembly vow not to be rubber stamped. You can find the details on page 6. Education curriculum Nigeria needs for basic schools. Nigeria's production hits 1.2 million barrels per day as Total announces oil discovery. Blood shortage bites harder with only 25% of transfusion demands met yearly. You can find the details on page 6. Trump enters not guilty plea in classified documents case. Akeredolu transmits power to deputy governor. You can find the details on page 8, and that's all the news on the Guardian newspaper.
Well, it's quite sad, Rich. I was looking at this blood shortage by its harder with only 25% of transfusion demand met yearly.
Yeah.
And of course, I think this is the way, even though I'm not a medical personnel, but I think this is where we call on, will I say, Nigerians that are willing to police. Because of course it has its advantage when you go to donate, and we're seeing that talking about blood shortage, it's actually biting harder. Why? Because we have no donors going to donate their blood. So I think I want to use this platform to at least let Nigerians, if you have looking at, maybe you go do the checkup, check your blood count and all of that, you know whether you're qualified to donate, so we were able to be part of the nation building, talking about blood transfusion. So we hope to see, willing Nigerians going to actually donate their blood for that.
And personally, when I was in the university for about 3 years, I was a blood donor, and then I was happy about it, that I was able to give my blood and it will be available. And then I believe it's all about sensitization and letting people know there. Go to the university, let people know that they can donate, because it's simple. You don't just donate blindly. You go, they have to check if you have enough to give. So regardless of your passion for wanting to do that, there will be a check, and then after a period of time you might not be able to meet the amount, and it goes back to your diet, eating what will make it enough for you to be able to go back and donate for a period of time. And I believe that if our blood banks are going short on blood availability, then something needs to be done, because daily,
all right, let's take this call from Ghana. All right, good morning, sir. Hello, a caller from Ghana, we can hear you. Please go ahead. Hello, are you there? Oh, Rachel, I think we lost that call because I could barely hear him. But I hope that you caught us back, because we'd love to hear what your take is about the story. So
so it means something needs to be done, because every day there are people who lose their lives in the hospitals because there was no blood available, or because there was nobody to donate to them. So this is something very sensitive. So I don't have to wait till I'm in a situation where I need blood to know that it is important for it to be available. So let just be enough publicizing it. Let me put it like that.
so.
Let people know that you can be a donor. It's not, you will get tested, you will know your blood group and all of that, and you can truly save a life.
Of course, Richard, because I remember I was a victim. I was scared then, but then I think right now I'm no longer scared of that. So you please, make yourself available. All right. Hello. Good morning, sir.
This is Equa TV.
Yes, this is Equa TV. Please go ahead, sir, with your contribution.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. I'm congratulating Ben Carlo for his emergence as the Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps.
All right. Okay, is that all, sir?
Ifeanyi Michael Ndukwe. I'm calling from Abia State, Umuahia to be precise.
All right, sir. Thank you for contributing. I think you just called to congratulate the GPT. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for that call. Let's look at other papers. Richard and I will be looking at the New National newspaper, and the next story on the paper there we have here says, so I'm trying to get my paper, Rachel. Okay, sorry. All right, on New National Star, we have coming from the PEPT, OB tenders additional. All right, another call. Hello, good morning.
Okay. This is what I want to tell you is about the trafficking. We have a lot of trafficking in Ghana.
Okay.
The Nigeria girls, we have a lot of them. They are making prostitutes in Ghana, yes. And it's not good. The way Ghanaians are condemning Nigeria in Ghana, yes. When you come, you see a lot of small girls, 16 years, 17 years, they are doing prostitute in Ghana. If you are my sister, when I call you, you won't mind me. So second, what I want to tell you, if Tinubu wants Nigeria to get better, he should bring Nnamdi Kanu closer so that we can help him to rule Nigeria better. Not by keeping Nnamdi Kanu in the prison there. We have a good people who can make Nigeria a better place. But we do value the foolish ones to rule the country. So he should bring Nnamdi Kanu closer. If you help him, we will develop Nigeria fine. Nnamdi Kanu is a great man. So thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think that was our caller from Ghana that we lost. And he was talking about that there are a lot of Nigerians in Ghana, Rachel, that are prostituting. So just like I said, that 25,000 girls we're talking was just in Mali. Now we're seeing that even in Ghana we're having, and it's heartbreaking because we're talking about underage girls, 15 years, 16 years, 17 years are the girls that are actually there. And sometimes these girls are being pushed because they want to, add value to their own family. That is the best way they know how to do. Okay, let's take this call. Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, my name is Ezuchku Daniel, coming from Ghana.
All right, go ahead, sir. Hello,
the reason why I called, one of our brother who called now that there's a lot of Nigerians in Ghana here doing prostitutions.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
And it is very, very bad. It's damaging our image and our dignity in this country we are.
All right.
So if the man elected co-president Bola Ahmed Tinubu can be able to help for the in case of the trafficking. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, sir. Please go ahead.
Hello?
I can hear you clearly, sir. Go ahead, please.
So, yeah, it's very, very important. And
all right.
also, let the President Tinubu, as elected as the president of Nigeria, to do the needful, the things that is important. So we also here in this country, we are facing a lot of challenges. People are accusing us for what we don't know, because Nigeria is a violent country. So they should know how to fix Nigeria. We are going to come back. The lawmakers, the head of the Senate, they should know how to make things easy for we outside. Because now, whenever someone accuses you of any kind of allegation in this country, you'll be arrested by the police of this country because they fear you. They see you as a crook.
All right, thank you.
And we are not the cause of it. Our bad government are the cause of it.
Okay. Are you done,
So
sir?
they should rather treat Nigeria very well. I know this is a Christian channel TV.
All right. Thank you so much. Please, when you call us, turn down the volume of your TV set because you tend to be listening and then you want to hear my response before you continue talking. So please turn it down completely so you can be able to talk uninterrupted. Now, Rachel, I think I mistaken this other call to be the call that I was trying. Now, this is another brother calling from Ghana. I am making more emphasis to what the earlier caller from Ghana was saying about Nigerians that are in Ghana that are actually prostituting, and the fact that Nigerians that are in Ghana are not being treated well because they are being seen like crooks, they are being seen as thieves. Anything that goes wrong, they are being accused of it, and he feels that it's the fault of the government, bad governance that is making them there. But I was actually smiling earlier was because, Rachel, I keep saying this, you can never be treated like a #1 citizen outside your country. Of course, I know there are reasons why Nigerians leave their country to go to other country in seek of a greener pasture. But sometimes it doesn't look green as it is from afar. When you get closer, you begin to realize that it is worse. And that is what I'm saying. We have what it takes. And that is why we're looking at how we can make the environment more conducive for people who want to be investors. All right, we have a... Morning, sir. Please, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Fine. I want to emphasize. Okay, this is Elizabeth calling from Dailies 14th.
All right, Mrs. Elizabeth, go ahead, please.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you, ma. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to emphasize the issue of this. I want to emphasize on the issue of these girls going for prostitution.
Please go ahead, ma. Don't listen to your TV set. Turn it down.
They make it a hobby. They make it a habit for themselves.
Hello, Mrs. Elizabeth. Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
Whereby a lady will just
All right, please, to our callers, please and please, when you call us, turn down the volume of your TV set. It makes it very difficult for us to have a very, uninterrupted, conversation here in the studio. So please, turn down the volume of your TV set. Mrs. Elizabeth was adding her voice to the issue of the prostitution, and I think it's becoming... People are not even talking about the 10th House of Assembly anymore, Rachel. People are looking at our girls that are out there. And just like I was saying, the callers we had from Ghana, seeing the way they are being treated because of bad governance. And I believe that it's all about sitting back and see what can you do. We have other Nigerians that are in various parts of other countries that have been treated well. Are we saying that there are no people that have been issue of being maltreated, being treated badly? No, we have them. But then I think we have a role to play wherever we find ourselves to be good ambassadors of Nigeria wherever we find ourselves. That is the only way we'll be treated more better than the way we are. But then regarding the way we're being treated, I think this is a signal to them to come back home and begin to develop the country and not stay back there being treated anyhow the way they're being treated.
And of course, a country's bad name can also affect us generally. But if you're being accused of doing something, you probably did it. I don't want to believe it's because of the criminals in Nigeria that you will just be automatically called a criminal where you are if you're not a criminal, because we have Nigerians, imagine, in key political office in other parts of the country. We have Nigerians in military.
All right, let's take this call, Rachel.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hello, good morning.
Calling from Anambra State.
All right, sir. Please go ahead.
Hello?
I can hear you clearly, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. There's something I want to point out here. Is in regard to yesterday in option of the National Assembly leaders.
All right.
And the chairman of the National Assembly, being the Senate President, was talking about national interest. Always national interest. Can we say there's national interest in this country, or unity, or whatever they want to say? If you look at the parameters of what is happening in this country, you know there's no national interest. And anybody who is telling you that must be deceiving himself. It's when it is in their favor like Ababio have attended now, he will say national interest. Bola Tinubu was there, is there now, he say national interest. The poor man, the other, okay, like let's say the geopolitical zones. What of other ones that have been excluded? Is there any national interest in their own thinking now? We are not saying that everybody must be there at the same time, but there are certain things have to be done for us to come out and say, yes, national interest. But you cannot exclude some people and undermine some people, and you come out and preach national interest. And nobody in his own right sense will say, I agree with you. So if we want to talk of national, let us think first and know how to go about it. It's not national interest when I'm being undermined. You say, you go there and tell me national interest is nowhere to be agreed. So that is my own submission. Let us be very, very careful to what we do in this country, because Nigeria is drifting and drifting so seriously and so fast. And then there will be no national interest that they are talking now. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir. Rachel, let me just tell you what the caller, so you can add it up to what you're saying. Sorry to cut you short. I just want you to add your own thought on what this last call we just had. He was talking about that the fact that the Senate president said that the senators should take in national interests first above all. And we see the president also saying the same thing. If you recall on Monday, Rachel, we were talking about equality, freedom to express, freedom to health, freedom to everything. We also spoke about the fact that every zone needs to be represented. That is the only way we can say that everybody is equal, not talking about a particular zone being given. And then if you take a look at the way the leadership is from this 10th House of Assembly, we have the north, and we had the northwest being represented. That is where we had that of Abbas. We also had the south in the form of the Senate president. We have the north central, where we had the SGF. We also have even the southeast being represented. That was when we had the deputy deputy rep speaker coming from the southwest. Now, a lot of things are happening, especially when you come to talk about the issue of being equal. And this our last caller feels the fact that people only mention national interest when it favors them. They do not talk about national interests in other ways. Why would we have a particular people being represented and others being excluded? Now, I want to hear your take about it. Do you feel that is the reason? Because talking about the president, he's not just a president to where he is coming from. He's the president of Nigeria.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Senate president. He's not the Senate president to the south, Akwa Ibom State. No, he's the Senate president of Nigeria. So I want Nigerians to have this different perspective. The fact that things have not been working right before doesn't mean that things cannot work right now. And I believe that this is the time when Nigerians have to rally around these leaders, because whether you like it or not, he is your brother in one way or the other, even if not directly by blood. But I feel that this is where Nigerians have to give them all the support they need to be able to lead well. So I want to hear your take in addition to what you were saying.
I think, Sele, Nigerians' fears are being based on the biasness we've been seeing in the past years. Just as we clearly said, Tinubu is not the president of Lagos. He's not the president of the West or the South. He's the president of Nigeria. It means under his administration, somebody in the village of Basa local government should feel the impact. That's what it means. And the same thing goes for the Senate presidency. But I feel Nigerians feel that over the years, there's just been so much partiality, how will I put it, going on in the system, that when a person is from a particular place, that area flourish and other parts of the countries are being neglected. We can see that when it comes to grants, loans, palliative being given in the country, some areas get more funding when a disaster happened than other areas. And that is why Nigerians are hitting hard on the fact that everybody needs to be represented, because they feel if ours are not represented, then we are going to lag for the period of time this administration will run. Now, we are trusting that if this Senate 10th Senate Assembly will prove to us that they are not rubber stamp leaders, then we need to see in Nigeria that everybody is included in the growth and the progress of this country. Now, it's only by doing this that we'll be able to clear our doubt, and we will truly start believing in Nigeria that it doesn't matter who is in position, as long as this person is patriotic, I will benefit from this governance. Everybody will smile. There was once a time, I'll keep saying this, we had an administration in Nigeria that everybody enjoyed it. That there was no feeling that this side was left, that side was left. No, we have witnessed that as Nigerians, and everybody can testify to that, except if we're going to sit down and deny the fact that we once had an administration that nobody was left out, that everybody was carried along, and we felt the goodness of the country flowing down to everybody. I would like to put it like that. So this is what we're looking forward for these assembly leaders to show to us, that they are Nigerians, not for a particular group of people, for the whole country to benefit from.
Of course.
And so, quickly in line with what I was saying concerning being a Nigerian and being painted black, is that yes, there might be that stigma, there might be that umbrella name to us because of our past records concerning how we've done things, but it still doesn't matter, Sele, just because we have Nigerians being in key political office in countries that is hard for people to get to, such even indigenous of those countries find it difficult to get to that positions. We have Nigerians in the military doing well, getting medals and honors. So you saying that where you didn't do wrong, no, I believe that if you stay away from trouble, trouble will stay away from you. But if you go find trouble, trouble will definitely find you. So it all boils down to what are we doing outside the country that is still making people point fingers at us. If we've left Nigeria to where we feel is better, then it's expected that we even do better attitudes, right? It means we should hustle better. It means we should find ourselves doing legal things. If our excuse was that Nigeria didn't favor us, well, you left to where it will favor you. So why are you not behaving your best when you were in a place that you said is better than Nigeria?
That was why I said, Rachel, we have to be good ambassadors wherever we find ourselves of our country. That is only we will be treated seriously. And I think we've actually run out of time, and this is where we have to call it a wrap on the program. Thank you so much to all our callers who call in on the program. Thank you so much to the crew members, our producers. Thank you to the Echo executive and everyone that has been supporting Echo Television thus far. Until we come here again, do have a blessed day ahead.